A surprise release that's fast becoming a smash hit. The Next Generation gets the Filmation treatment, and we've got the creator and illustrator, Justin T. Lee, right here on Trekzone.
This is a Trekzone conversation.
Well, Justin, thanks for a little bit of your time to have a Trekzone conversation. You've done a remarkable job on this one, mate.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely a pleasure and a thrill. How did you come up with the idea to make TNG TAS?
So my wife and I are doing something super nerdy, which is we're watching the entirety of Star Trek in Stardate order. I'm sure other people have been doing this. Yeah, I know. It's super nerdy. But so we started with TOS. It's been like years now because like we do this only when we have time and we're just like watching TV at night. And so we started with TOS, and of course, the chronology actually took us through TAS. And so we watched all of TAS. Lindsay, my wife, had only seen some episodes before, some clips, and so we saw the whole series, and we honestly, truly love TAS. It's very endearing. It's very it's like a warm blanket. You know, you've got that kind of 70s vibe, and it's kind of, yeah, I mean, it's also funny that they use the same, everyone says like 5 or 10 music cues over and over, and the animation is obviously very limited, but there's some, and of course, like Shatner sometimes sounds like he's recording in a hotel room trying not to wake the people next door. I mean, which is all I think that it's actually true, but there's something so comforting and endearing about it, and you know, the stories are played straight. It's not a parody. It's not like supposed to make fun of Star Trek in any way. It was like, you know, telling Star Trek stories. It was continuing the 5-year mission. So as we moved past that and we went through the Next Generation, there was a point where my brain just thought, you know, we've got this very serious Star Trek show, and TNG is very serious. It's often, you know, very, very serious. And I thought, what would happen if you took something really serious from this show and did it in the Filmation treatment, the TAS treatment? Like, what would happen? Like, what if you took Ron Jones' music off and put Ray Ellis's music on? What would happen? And so that kept, you know, rattling around in my brain for, might have been months, it might have been years. And I kept saying to and Lindsay was like, "Oh, you really should do it. Like, it'd be so much, like, be so fun to watch this." And I thought, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and surely someone else has already done this. And so I kept Googling for months, like going, you know, TNG TAS, like, has anyone animated Riker and Picard and like these characters in that style? And I could never find anything. I know there's like some comics and some illustrations, but no one had animated it. No one had put Ray Ellis's music to TNG. So, you know, Lindsay's off in the UK right now on a business trip. And so I'm home by myself and I'm doing freelance work. And there was some time that I had, and I was like, I guess I should just do it. It was also Lindsay's birthday, and I kind of said, like, what if this was part of your birthday present? She said, yes, absolutely yes. I just want to see this thing. So I sent it to her. It was way more work. It was even more work than I thought it was going to be to make this thing. But I sent her just the audio, because I did the audio first, and like the first few seconds of it. And she immediately wrote back and said, you have to finish this. You have to finish this. So that's where it came from.
And as you mentioned, you know, there was something special about that 70s show. It wasn't a parody. It wasn't trying to send up the franchise that was very young at that point. It was a way of getting it back on the air and doing it in such a cheap, dare I say, cheap way, but certainly, you know, a no frills attached sort of animation. And it was what Filmation was known for back in the 70s, doing all those sort of really stripped down versions. And it's now become canon in Star Trek. The official website made that declaration a couple of decades ago. Just an incredible thing. And on all those little bits and pieces, what I love with TNG TAS is that it's all those little bits and pieces that you don't think of. I sat my mum and my sister down and we watched it on our big screen the other night. And that was the first thing that they noticed was the film smudging and just those little bits and pieces, the dust in the gate and all that sort of stuff as well. And there's an interesting story that we learned from your behind the scenes video as to where some of that came about.
Oh, yeah. The well, first of all, I should say that some people might know the Thunderbirds anniversary episodes, which was something I worked on in 2015. It was for the Thunderbirds 50th anniversary. Thunderbirds being the British sci-fi puppet show from the 60s. So we made 3 episodes in the style of the original 60s Thunderbirds with some of the same crew, and it had to look legit 60s. And so that kind of workflow is something that's already in my head. So doing TNGTS, that's kind of it comes with, I guess, my personality and the kind of work I do, that I just gave it that same approach. So you just exactly what you're saying. There was gate weave, there was film grain, there was film dirt, and then there was also the actual dirt on the cells, which I think is what you're referring to. And some of those dirt elements I literally got by taking a picture of my apartment window, because there's dirt on it. And it's, you could either try to draw this or procedurally generate it, which is also what I did for part of it. But you could also just take a picture of something dirty that's in nature, which I think is kind of really obviously what happened when they were doing the animated series, is they were just getting dirt on those cells as they were filming it.
And another big thing as well is that you've drawn these frames. This behind-the-scenes video that you released showed you drawing these frames into Photoshop. Is that every frame? Here in Australia, we're talking 25
Yes.
frames a second.
So animation, especially for TV, is usually done on twos, which means that you double every picture. And so film rate, film rate runs at 24. This is a whole separate conversation that's so confusing about 25, 24, but film rate typically runs at 24, and animation, especially for TV, would have been done at 12. So you do 12 pictures per second, which is what they call animating on twos. And so I was drawing 12 frames to make a second anytime anything was moving, which is exactly how Filmation would have done it. Sometimes they're animating on ones. There's like a part of it when Riker's like fighting with the Borg, and I referenced what Filmation was doing anytime they had those kind of twitchy, kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, animation. They would animate that kind of stuff on ones, which means 24 pictures every second. But most of the time, you're animating on twos. It still was surprisingly a lot of drawing, and I know a lot of people, as they should, have watched my video and gone, oh, they did the exact same cheap animation. And it is cheap doing, like they would outsource to like different countries, and they'd have a whole bunch of people doing the animation. And Filmation didn't do that. Filmation was famous for keeping it all American. So like everything was done in one building, the animation, like the drawing of it, the photography, the editing. So so I wanted to emulate that the same way, which is why I drew everything by hand. And I didn't use the shortcut, which I've seen other kind of, vintage animation that's done today do, which is they use interpolation. They might like draw the face once, and if they want the head to like look down or up, they might just interpolate that same picture up and down. I'm not at all knocking people for doing that, because that's way more efficient, but it doesn't look the way, because like Filmation wouldn't have done that. They would have slid things sometimes, but a lot of times they just drew the position of that arm. Like if Riker's arm is going down or up, they would have drawn all those different pictures of his hand up and down. They wouldn't have separated just the forearm and slid it around like this. So yeah. And my arm got very cramped up drawing all those pictures. So it was actually a lot of work.
I can absolutely imagine, and I'm just looking at your YouTube channel now, Gazelle Automations. You're over 340,000 views in just 7 days. Were you expecting this kind of response?
No. No. I mean, no. I finished this thing because like it was something that was to amuse me and my wife, and she being in the UK right now. I finished it late here, and I said, I'm so sorry, just wait up 5 more minutes. I'm going to send it to you, and it'll be worth it. And so I sent it to her. She watched it right before she went to bed. She laughed, and she said, it's so endearing, and I love it, and it's like a love letter to Star Trek and all that. And we both said, this is cool. and I said I'll post it on YouTube and I'll post it on Twitter. Maybe a few fans will find this fun. And then I turned everything off. Like I turned off my computer and my screens, and I was like, I need to take a break. And I walked out into the night, into the darkness of the night, and didn't think about it again until the next morning when I like opened YouTube and I checked it and I thought, wait, what the? I couldn't understand what I was looking at. I was like, the numbers, something's wrong with this number. It's like it's way, way, way too high. And then of course, like Twitter was exploding, and so yeah, did not expect it.
Just absolutely incredible. And one other thing that I found here as well is that someone's done a day after you released it. Someone has done a comparison video and put yours side by side with how it was actually shot and released.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that is just incredible as well. So it's the power of the Star Trek community on Twitter. I know you've been featured on Trek News and Trek Movie as well. This thing has exploded. Are there plans to do any more?
Okay, so several people have asked that. The short answer is like, I didn't think that this was going to happen. This was just something honestly for fun. So we haven't even thought that far ahead. I mean, there are lots of things I would love to, like, I'm picturing like Cisco drawn in this style. That would be really awesome. But like, it's just not something, like, it just is still so new and recent. And we're still kind of like, I didn't even plan to make that making of video, the behind the scenes one, which also by itself is kind of having its own small, a lot of people have watched it, way more than I expected. So, but that was only because a lot of people were asking questions in the comments about like, how is this done? What is the whatever? And I thought it would be much easier if I just do a video about it, but I didn't plan to do any of that. And if anyone out there who has enjoyed this, hasn't seen the making of video, it's worth watching just because Will Wheaton posted about TNG TAS, and that was pretty, like, on his blog, and I was like, well, that's really cool. And he said, because he unironically loves TAS, and he said he loves this thing that I did, and he's not upset that Wesley's not in it, but he was like, I really would like to see Wesley in a Filmation cartoon. And so I saw that he wrote that, and I was like, yeah, I think I can do something about that. So, and I know he's seen what I did about it. So if you haven't seen the behind the scenes video, there's like a thing for Will Wheaton at about 4 minutes and 7 seconds. And yes. Have you seen it?
I certainly have, and we'll have links in the description here on YouTube. We'll also have links on the Trekzone website on this official watch page as well. Cards in the top and all that sort of stuff, so you can jump straight over. You don't have to search for them or anything like that. That is there. I was watching the behind the scenes video, not expecting, because I hadn't seen Will's blog, so I wasn't expecting that, and it was an absolute treat and a delight to have that appear. And I think that there's a real market out there for it, Justin.
Mm-hmm. May I ask, what are you a fan of TAS? I guess you are, right? Like, you've obviously seen it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's certainly, and we've got the reviews up on Trekzone as to each episode, but I think as a whole, and we've done a Talk and Trek episode with Lee Sargent on TAS as well. It's certainly the biggest thing that I've found when I've rewatched Star Trek and gone through and done the reviews for Trekzone. The biggest thing that you have to do is take yourself away, and a lot of people with current Trek, and we won't get into that discussion, but have to take themselves away from Star Trek as a whole and look at the Star Trek of the time. You have to do that with the original series to get a full appreciation for what it is.
Yeah.
You look at the original series now and you laugh it out of any serious lounge room, but TAS is in the same boat as well. You look at it now, you have a little bit of a laugh about it, and the animation style is cheap. It's certainly nothing like Prodigy or Lower Decks or anything else that was on TV necessarily at the time, on TV now. But for what it was, and to get the Star Trek franchise back, considering that the motion picture had just been released, that was a big smash hit. So they realized Star Wars was out. They realized that they had a property here that they could do something with. Brilliant. We introduced new characters, new alien species. We actually had non-bipedal creatures on the bridge of the Enterprise. Different technology as well. The holodeck was first seen in TAS. So it's such a critical part of the franchise. And and something that you have to sit down and expect to have a bit of a laugh with, and that's okay, and that's exactly what this is. And there's a couple of chuckles as well in TNG TAS as well, just in that style, in that true to form, that's what it is, and those overly tight shots and all those sort of things, that same musical score repeating itself, all those things are there, and it's just an incredible adventure. And admittedly, it took me a couple of days to actually watch TNG TAS. It was sent to me by about 5 different people in the space of 30 minutes, I think, when it was released. So just incredible how fast it flew around the world, and just the universal love for it. As well, we've talked about your expectation. Your expectation wasn't there for that. What about the comments, Justin? How have they been on the video?
I love that so many people, again, like it's one of those, I've rarely had a situation, I should say, where I have a video where I can't keep up with the comments. I did one video for anybody who's seen Bagmunity, which is a community fan film that I did years ago. That one went viral too, and the cast and like the creator retweeted that. And the same thing happened, but like it's very unusual for me to have a situation where there's so many comments I can't read all of them. But I tried to read as many on TNG TS as possible, and I was so happy to see that people were catching all those little things, the things you just mentioned, that I put in there on purpose. All of which was on purpose, like having the elevator door open, the turbo lift door open, having smudges, having like those weird pauses, having the Borg be purple and pink, like that. So many people, I was so happy to see so many people going, yes, I understand why you did this, and it's making me really happy. It's all those little details. So that's been hugely, hugely rewarding. And I do want to say, like, just like you were talking about the context of enjoying something, what I really love about the animated series, and I say this with true earnesty, is that you can watch it on both those levels, just like you can with TOS. It's like you can watch it as something, as a person in 2022, and go, I can see it's funny that the set is creaking or that the animation is stilted, but you can also, just like with suspending your disbelief, you can also put your brain into the show and go, I'm just going to watch it and accept that universe. And that's something really wonderful about it. And I like that. And, full disclosure, when I've watched Yesteryear, the second animated episode, like I cried. Like it's like that's the episode about Spock going and meeting his child self. Like it's such a beautiful episode. So you can do that. You can watch Khan and Kirk fight in Space Seed and think it's so silly that thing in engineering, he like that, hits him in the back with this, like, I don't even know what it is. Or you can take it in context and go, wow, this is like a superhuman who's kicking our hero's butt. So I do love the animated series for that reason. And I just wanted to say that. I just want to say, like, it is truly, TNG-TS is truly a love letter to Trek and a love letter to all the incarnations and all that quirkiness that does make the video funny, which was intentional. I like that you can also, if you're a fan of TAS, just watch it straight and go, yeah, that's what they would have done to be earnestly, not to be funny, because they didn't do it to be funny,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love it. Well, Justin, whereabouts are you in your Star Trek watch now?
We are on DS9 and Voyager. And again, the exciting thing is that I've seen, like, certainly of the Berman era, if we can call it that, like every episode of Star Trek. Well, I guess even before that, I've now seen all of TOS as well, but I've seen all of DS9, all of Voyager, and Lindsay, my wife, and Gazelle Automation's co-founder, we work together on all our projects, but she hasn't seen anything past what she's seen. So I'm super excited because I just love that this moment where we started on Deep Space Nine and the Enterprise left O'Brien and, sailed off into space. And she had that moment where she was like that kid being dropped off for the first day of school. She was like, no, don't leave us here. I hate this place. It's so dark and awful. And within we weren't even past the first season of DS9. She was like, yeah, forget the Enterprise. I'm happy here. I love Deep Space Nine. Like I could watch Deep Space Nine forever. So we're in season 4 of DS9, season 2 of Voyager. And so I just keep saying to her, you have no idea what's coming. You have no idea. Like especially, look, not to knock Voyager, I love Voyager too, but every episode of Deep Space Nine, because it's getting into the political weeds, it's getting into the spiritual stuff, it's getting into the personal stuff, it's doing all that stuff that Star Trek does so well. And she's like, I can't even imagine if it's this good now where it's going. And I was like, just wait, it's gonna get even better.
So you're
Yeah.
living out every Trekkie's dream here to actually not only have a beautiful wife, but also to be able to be experiencing Star Trek again, fresh through her.
It's just really rewarding to share something like this with somebody, and the fact that she's really into it as well. Like, and as I said in the behind the scenes video that I put out, Star Trek is, because like we've now been doing this Trekathon for years. Like we started doing TOS, like it must have been like 6 years ago. It's taking us a really long time to get through because we don't watch an episode every day. Some days we're too busy to watch an episode. So it's taken us so long. So Star Trek is literally having an impact on the output of our company. Like we make our own content. If anyone's checked out our YouTube channel, we just put out a show called Meekshi which is come out through TVO, which is a broadcaster in Canada, but it's also streaming on YouTube. And it's got obviously a really huge Thunderbirds influence, but it's also got a Star Trek influence. Because like that stuff's just seeping into the way we write stuff, the way we produce stuff. So this has been hugely, hugely rewarding to share the show with her. And I'm just excited for her to see, she doesn't know anything about power rates. She doesn't know anything about where Cisco is going. She doesn't know any of that stuff. So yeah.
Spoilers.
Oh, sorry.
Spoilers.
I hope anyone, sorry. I hope everybody who's,
well, especially for Lindsay, if she's watching this interview.
Yes, it's possible. It's possible she will. Yeah, power rates mean nothing to her right now, and probably to anyone who hasn't seen the show yet probably doesn't mean anything to them either. But can I ask you what your favorite Trek series is? You've probably talked about this before, but is it?
Yeah, it has to be DS9.
Yeah.
Just as you say, that the political, the spiritual, just the way that it was handled with Ira Burr at the helm, just an absolutely incredible series. And it's nothing against any other show, which are great in their own rights. But I think in terms of overall, DS9's got to sit at the top.
Absolutely, yes. I'm completely in agreement with you. And no, I love all of Star Trek. And I'm, by the way, not only have I seen trailers for Strange New Worlds, but they're filming it here in Toronto. Yeah. And they were literally, and I think that's the whole reason why that whole leak happened about Captain Kirk, is because they were filming at Yonge and Dundas, which is where I went to school. And they were like in Dundas Square. I don't even know how they're going to use that for an alien world, or is it going to be Starfleet Academy? I have no idea. But I'm super, like, from what I've seen of the trailers for Strange New Worlds, I'm super excited for that show. It looks so much fun. It's colorful. It looks exciting, and it looks like we're going to go on an adventure. And Anson Mount has that swashbuckling, like kind of. And I'm not saying he isn't Shatner and he's not supposed to be Captain Kirk, but he's got that same kind of energy, and it's super exciting. So.
100%.
I'm very excited about that for many reasons. Yeah.
And Anson Mount is the one guest on this show that I've stood on the proverbial table for and acted out a scene from the Robin Williams movie and called him, you remember that line, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," and he blushed at that one. So that was incredible.
That is super cool. I mean, my dream, like some of my friends are working on Discovery and Strange New Worlds right now, and I just keep saying, can you get me, I know especially right now with the COVID stuff and everything, it's even worse, because can't I just visit the set?
I just want to be there.
Yeah. I just want to see the bridge. I just want to wouldn't it be so great to because one of my friends is several of my friends have worked on the show, and I'm just I just want to one of my friends 100%. Was on set with Frakes directing, and he was like, yeah, Frakes is really, really, really good at running a set. And I was like, that's super cool. Could you just get me just want to peek inside. Anyway, we'll see.
I do have to quickly ask too, how are the new shows factoring into your Star Trek watch?
We haven't gotten there yet, and we can't because it's going to break the chronology. And I don't, it's funny because like I've seen stuff. I'm not, because I've seen all that other Star Trek, but Lindsay's not watching it because like she hasn't even seen First Contact yet because it's not, we haven't reached it yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like she's all for spoilers, and I'm like, no, the surprise is worth it. Just wait, you know? Because like she kept saying like, don't you think Captain Picard should be a little, you know, emotionally unhinged from all that stuff happening to him with the Borg? And I was like, yeah, I totally think so. Yeah, she hasn't seen First Contact yet. Just wait, you know? Yeah, it comes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Brilliant. Are you secretly watching on the side?
Like I've seen some of the new Trek series, and of course, again, like talking to people who are working on it, and like I equally find Trek as a viewer as interesting as a TV producer. I find that aspect of it incredibly interesting as well. Like what they do when they have, like, part of the reason, honestly, that I want to visit the sets in Toronto is because they have money, and I just love to see when a production has resources to really make something look nice. Like the show that we just made, we made on a shoestring budget, and we like everyone threw everything in the kitchen sink into it. But then you have enough money to actually build a really, really nice set. That alone is something, you know. When I was a kid, I got to tour the set of Earth Final Conflict, which also shot in Toronto. And
Nice.
that was so cool because everything looks, you know, a little bit crappier in person. You know what I mean? Like the curtain with the sequins for the stars, the commander chair, all that stuff. Everything looks a little bit more janky, but it's still like you've got scope. And you know, it was like being a kid in a candy store. We just ran between all the different sets, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I actually broke part of the set by accident. I didn't tell anybody. Because I didn't realize it wasn't real. Like I was a teenager, and my friend's dad was working on the show, and I went to push one of the buttons on one of the consoles, and the button went in, and it cracked, and it didn't pop back out because it was like a vacuum formed piece, and I didn't realize that, so
Oops.
Didn't tell anyone. Anyway, I'm sure no one noticed. I'm sure that the show wasn't ruined for that, but yeah. Anyway.
Fantastic, Justin. Well, I've absolutely enjoyed the last half an hour getting to know you and learning about TNG TAS and just learning about everything. You're on an incredible adventure with your wife with the Star Trek Watch. You've got more animated series coming out. I'm just making that decision for you now that you'll be doing more and picking scenes throughout the series to come as well. Just incredible.
It would be cool. It would be cool. I think we're just like, it's so, when did this thing come out? Last week. It's so new. It's so like, we just don't, yeah, anyway, but yes, sorry.
Guys, give me a second. Just let me, breathe after this one. One question I didn't actually ask is, how long did it take you?
It was about a week's work. I think if I was to stack it up, like in terms of like work days, I think it was about a week. I definitely probably should have taken more breaks while I was doing it, but it was like, when I did that Filmation run with Riker, you know, I just watched that and I was like, I just have to keep going. Like, this is just too, you make stuff because you want to see it, you know, like that's why that's why people make stuff. You record a song because you want to hear it. So as I was making this, I was just like, I just really want to see this thing. So that just kept me going, but it was about a week yeah.
Just incredible. Well, looking forward to hopefully more to come from you, Justin. Thanks for beaming in today and having a Trekzone conversation, mate. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been super fun.
Cool.